Here I'm approaching this only through the lens of biology, right? I'm not a psychologist, and I'm certainly not political in any way. At least not. I have ideas about politics, but I just don't discuss them publicly. But the idea here is that I'm not saying pornography as a stimulus is bad or good. What I'm saying is it, in its availability and its extreme forms, it's a very potent stimulus. And very potent stimuli of any kind, extremely palatable food, extreme pornography, extreme experiences like bungee cord jumping, those set a threshold for dopamine release. And Anna will tell you that, and I'm sure she did, that the higher the dopamine peak, the bigger the drop afterwards. And it's not that you drop to baseline, you drop below baseline. So again, it's not, these things aren't good or bad, they just have to be controlled in a way, because when people are pursuing dopamine peaks over and over and over, and they aren't getting them, typically it's because they've been pursuing that activity far too often.
What if the thing you're most ashamed of could also become your greatest source of strength? Most of us carry secrets, hidden battles we fight alone. But what happens when we finally decide to confront them head on? This is the untold story of how one man overcame a struggle millions are too afraid to even talk about: porn addiction. Let's dive into the real cost of shame, the science of dopamine, and the power of vulnerability.
No, it's all worth it, just I had a price. You know that I'm all in.
Everyone struggles with something they'd rather keep hidden. But there's one struggle that's rarely talked about, one that thrives in secrecy: porn addiction. Today, we're unpacking how shame fuels this cycle and how breaking free begins with one powerful step: sharing your story. Ellie Nash, a man you'd never suspect, stood in a room with his employees and said something that left him speechless. "My number one goal is to never watch porn again." For years, Ellie's life was haunted by shame. He grew up in a strict environment, seeking safety in his grandmother's home and later in an unhealthy escape: pornography. His story isn't unique, it's just rarely spoken aloud. Here's what makes porn addiction so challenging. Porn isn't just about images on a screen, it's a neurological loop that rewires your brain. Dr. Andrew Huberman, a leading neuroscientist, explains how extreme stimuli, like pornography, create intense dopamine spikes. These peaks lead to equally deep lows, leaving you chasing the next hit to feel normal again. Over time, your brain learns to crave that artificial high, and real-life intimacy becomes harder to enjoy. Shame is the glue that keeps addiction intact. As Ellie found, shame stops us from seeking help or sharing our struggles. Dr. Brené Brown describes shame as the fear of disconnection. It convinces us that if people knew the truth, they'd reject us. But what if the opposite is true? What if sharing your story could actually heal you? For Ellie, everything changed when he met another recovering porn addict. In a single conversation, the shame began to lift. He realized he wasn't alone. This connection led him to a support group where he discovered successful, ordinary people battling the same issue. These moments of shared vulnerability showed him the power of community and human connection. Porn addiction isn't just a personal struggle, it's a societal one. Every day, over 100 million people log on to porn websites. Many don't realize the long-term consequences: strained relationships, mental health struggles, and a loss of real connection. But change starts with awareness and honest conversations. If you or someone you know struggles with this, here's where to start. 1. Talk to someone, a friend, therapist, or support group. Breaking the silence is the first step. 2. Understand the science. Knowing how dopamine cycles work can empower you to reset your brain. 3. Set small, realistic goals. Progress isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. Ellie's story isn't just about quitting porn, it's about reclaiming his life and turning shame into strength. Imagine what could happen if more people shared their battles and supported each other. Hustlers Rule the World is a community where no topic is too taboo, and every struggle is a chance to grow. You're not alone in this. Let's keep the conversation going. Subscribe for more stories that uplift, educate, and inspire. Because together, we can break the chains of shame and build a future full of connection and strength.